Thank you. So before I introduce ourselves, I just want to mention one thing, which is that this event will become a podcast. You can watch it on the podcast and listen to it all around the world with hundreds of millions of people listening. So it's a warning to anyone who is maybe in America or hasn't seen the fourth series yet. There will be spoilers. We'll be talking about specific plot points with our two guests. So if you don't want to get it spoiled, be careful. That's all I'm saying. Just a warning about that now. To everyone else here at the Apple Store in London, get ready for some very exciting chat with our two guests, Ed Speleers and Joanne Froggatt.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Welcome to Anna and Jimmy. So Ed, turning to your character, what can you say? I mean, I know I've been taught to mention the words by a friend of mine. Love quadrangle. That's one thing that might be coming up this series. And certainly you're very flirty and...
what, now? Or?
Very flirty now, always. And in the show. And your dashing flirtiness, that's going to come out, isn't it, more and more, I feel, as time goes on. What would you like to say about that?
There is a love quadrangle, or rhombus, that's been sort of continuing from last year a bit. I think from Jimmy's point of view, David Evans and I just directed episodes 1 and 2. We discussed very early on that perhaps the idea for Jimmy, why he's starting to show interest in Ivy, is nothing other than he might just be a little bit bored. Right. He might be a bit, sort of feels like he's a bit cooped up in this house. You know, he's the sort of guy who, in his head, is quite ambitious and he wants to be out seeing things, doing things. He loves his music, and yeah, he is quite a flirty sort of party sort of young chap, I suppose. But I think the idea that he's cooped up in this house all day long, taking orders from Carson, I think it grinds him down a little bit.
Really?
So any opportunity to, flirt with a young lady, I think he's quite happy about that.
And you spent most of last year, of course, kind of escaping the advances of Thomas. That was an interesting storyline for you. I guess, in a way, how was that for you? Because it's interesting that you're being quite homophobic in a way, or, literally, in that time you would have been scared probably of that kind of advance. How was that playing that storyline?
Well, that was quite a tricky storyline to play. I mean, I was very lucky because that was my first series and it was my first major storyline, so I was very lucky to have that. But I mean, there were some difficulties with playing that, mainly again down to the time period. It's very, it's very difficult to sort of turn around to your bosses and say, I'm having advances from a gay man. It has such massive ramifications, homosexuality in that time period. Men went to prison for being found out for being gay. So if you're reporting that or being seen to be involved in something like that, it could be very grave for Jimmy. So it was quite a difficult thing to get the balance right. As in, who do I talk to about this? How do I go about it? I need to keep my job. So it was a tricky position for him to be in.
When the camera was turned off, was it fun doing those scenes with Rob and that kind of thing?
When the camera's turned off, are you saying we were kissing when the camera's turned off?
No, I'm asking. How much fun did you have?
I have a lot of fun being an actor.
Yeah. I have a vision of the younger members of the cast having going out for a drink after filming. Does that happen?
I don't drink.
Oh, don't you? No. I don't believe it. I don't know why I don't believe that. But do you socialise together, or is it all?
There's been one or two nights out.
There's a few occasions, yeah. I mean, but we're very sort of professional,
I'm not saying not professional.
strong-minded people. It's all about the job in hand.
Of
so
course.
we wouldn't do anything like that.
Of course.
But Joe likes red wine.
Okay.
Only when we're off duty.
That's what I meant. Off duty, totally off duty. Well, talking of your romantic advances, I think we've got another clip featuring you from the next episode. So let's have a look at this.
Ooh.
Good cut there, just before the key moment when you step in. Do you get sideways and dodge that, or how much do you want to tell us about?
We have to watch on Sunday.
Yes. Yes, we'll have to watch it. Yeah. Are you jealous of all the cooking that Ivy and Alfred do? They both want to be cooks.
They're very good cooks.
They've got something to. That's that you're talking about the board thing that you need a hobby.
Well, I think you need something to be good at.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there is an element of jealousy involved with Alfred. Certainly, Alfred is aspiring to do certain things, and I think Jimmy finds that quite frustrating itself.
Yeah.
So any opportunity he can to belittle him, he will do that.
Yeah. Going back to when you were first cast in the role, joining this, by then it was already a huge phenomenon. How was it when you first arrived, kind of in this world of all these other actors in such a massive show?
It was intimidating because, like you say, it had established itself so well both here and across the pond. But I mean, you're working with really lovely people all the time, and people do bring you in. But I think it's important in any job you go into. You've got to have an element of pressure on your shoulders, otherwise you don't take it seriously enough. And that's the same with acting, and it was a good chance for me to really try and, muscle my way in there and show what I could try and do. But like I said, it's wonderful people to be working with, and it's a good drama school for me. I never went, so it was a great place for me to learn. You're watching, working with people like Joe and Maggie and Jim Carter. You are sitting next to me at the moment.
Great actors.
No.
Yeah.
No, but of course, and I'm being serious, and especially like downstairs, it's a real melting pot. It's a great place, and I know that Matt Milne thinks the same. It's a great place for us to sit and watch and bounce off other people and really enjoy the experience. So no, I'm thrilled. I've been a part of it so far. So I'm glad I did get there.
And I think it's safe to say that you are a big sex symbol on the show. How do you react to
He's
that?
the
kind
James Dean.
He is the James.
Of
Thank you.
Downton Abbey.
Thank you. You are the James Dean. That's it now. James Dean of Downton Abbey forever. How does that feel to be the object of our lust? Is that going too far? Sorry. Is that going too far?
I would like to comment on that.
I feel you're interrupting something at the moment, Joe. I don't really know how I feel about that. I think for me, it's more important that if people think I'm delivering a good character and believe in the character and think that is, and they're interested in what I'm doing as an actor, that's far more important. If there's people like anything else, then that's lovely too.
It's a bonus. One more thing about you I was saying to you before, I was watching Sky Movies the other day and stumbled across a film you were in called Love Bites, which features extensive nudity, Ed. Do you remember?
It's not that kind of movie.
Well, I'm just saying. Just putting it out there.
I had to run around a lot with my backside out around the streets of Glasgow in November a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Happy to do that? Was it
Well,
worth
I'm
it?
doing Downton now as a result, so there you go. So I didn't get my bum out for no reason. No.
No. Downton doesn't have many gratuitous nude scenes, does it? Is it something you kind of none?
Yeah.
No, effectively none. No. But there's been some raunchy moments in the past.
There's a lot of sort of suggestiveness, which I think is sort of more intelligent sometimes.
Right. Now, this is a question for both of you. So I'm going to pass it open to you guys to be thinking of any questions you have for our two guests here. But do you? There's so many characters now. There's new characters brought in every series. Do you both get the scripts? How does it work? Do you get the scripts and you're looking for what happens to you? I mean, you talked about how your particular role, your particular storyline this year, you were told what's happening. But do you look at the scripts thinking, right, what's happening to me? Or do you just read the whole thing and think, oh, this is how the series is going?
I mean, a bit of both. I think it's you read everything because you're part of this thing. You want to know how every episode pans out, how the series pans out, what's happening to other characters, how that's relevant to your character. But obviously you do, I mean, quite often I have a quick flick through, all right, he's doing that, okay, and then I go back to the beginning and read it all properly. And I think, but you want to know the stories. It's important that you get a real sense of everything that is happening to everybody else, because it is the upstairs doesn't work without the downstairs and vice versa. It's a proper mechanism that's always moving, and people do bounce off each other and stories fall into other people's stories. It's really, really important to be acutely aware of what else is going on, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And in terms of what's coming up, and in terms of how big the show has become, Ed, what is it like being in a show? It's watched by 12 million, at least 12 million people. It's basically the biggest show on TV these days. I mean, it includes X Factor and all of that. So how do people deal with you and talk on the street and all of that? Do you get treated differently?
No, I don't feel I get treated particularly differently. I mean, people are always pretty nasty to me, so I mean, I don't feel there's a massive change. I mean, I've noticed a change. I've just been in America recently, and it's quite overwhelming how the casting directors are with you there. They ask you about 100 questions about Downton Abbey rather than actually asking about anything else to do with you. It's all about Downton Abbey, and they're asking me questions about characters I can't even answer. So about what Mrs. Patmore's cooking right now, and I haven't got that answer, so I have to say to them. Right. But no, I mean, it's amazing to be part of something like this, and long may it continue.
Because it is huge in America, isn't it?
Yeah, you keep saying that. Yeah, stop putting the pressure on.
Sorry, what? Sorry, no pressure. But so, do you think it could be the starting point of big things out there? Would you like to do stuff out there, Hollywood?
I think any actor would be lying if they didn't admit to saying they'd like to do things in America, because there is a lot of work out there, and there's a I mean, Los Angeles is a city that's dedicated to making movies and television. So of course I'd love to have that opportunity, but I'm perfectly happy working away at the moment, and if that comes my way, then I'll be an even luckier person.
Absolutely. Well, I'm sure there are loads of questions from the audience, so I'm going to. I think there's some roving mics. So if you do have a question, the mic will come to you, and we'll get to you. There's a lady just back there.
Hi. First, both of you are spectacular, and thank you for bringing such wonderful drama to our living room. For Joanne, 2 questions. One, the character of Anna and Bates, what is the age difference? And 2, what, as a child, what was the Masterpiece Theater series that caught you?
Okay, so question number 1. It's a little bit vague, the age difference between Anna and Bates. I think it's probably, I mean, there is a big age difference. I think it's probably about 16, 17 years, something like that. That there is a bit of a gap there between the characters. That's how we started off. I'm not sure as the series have gone on how we're supposed to have aged, particularly. I might have caught up with him a little bit by now, I'm not sure. But yeah, and in terms of masterpiece shows, well, obviously we don't get PBS here, and we don't get the masterpiece stuff, but I guess in terms of British drama that I watched when I was younger, I remember, I don't know whether this was on Masterpiece or not, but a drama called Band of Gold, which was probably on when I was about 13, I think, or 13, 14, an ITV drama that Samantha Morton was one of the stars of, and amongst other people, and Kathy Tyson, and that was something I watched and was blown away by the grittiness and the reality of the performances, especially by Samantha Morton, and that's something that certainly stood out. I guess being that age, it was the first time I've been allowed to watch anything like that, because it was quite a dark show, really. So yeah, that certainly sticks out in my mind of kind of going, oh, that's impressive. I'd like to be as good as her one day.
Thank you. Is there anything you like growing? What kind of TV did you watch when you were
Growing up?
Yeah.
I was just thinking, because I had a scary feeling you might ask me that.
Yeah. Sorry.
There's one series that was actually, it wasn't so much when I was growing up, it was when I actually first started doing acting. I was recommended a series to watch as a case study. It was Our Friends from the North.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And I found that was a very
Yeah.
very powerful thing to be watching.
Yeah. Well, they are 2 classic shows,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. Gentleman there. I'll come over this side soon. Sorry, don't worry.
I have a question for both of you. I understand that the Middleton family actually made a visit to the Downton set.
Ah.
What was it like having them on set? I gather he even baked you a cake.
I didn't bake her a cake. I would have done, but I didn't.
Well, they did make a visit on set. I can see by Ed's look in his eye that he wasn't there that day, and neither was I. Unfortunately, I would have loved to have met them, but I don't know about the cake situation. but I know they did have lunch with some of the cast and hopefully enjoyed the day. Yeah, I'm not sure what series of that was though. Maybe it was series 2.
Were you uninvited, not on purpose?
I know, well, I was
Here
very
they just mingled with the upstairs.
Yeah, exactly. I was very
right,
disappointed. We weren't invited.
It sounds like you're both sort of royalists and big fans of the royal family.
Political.
Yeah. Trying to get you in trouble.
Yeah. No, I think absolutely. I think, with, especially in recent years with the royal wedding and now the royal baby and the Jubilee, I think it's been a great thing for Britain, actually. I think it's really, we've had a big community spirit from the royals again, and obviously William and Kate and Harry have really brought the royals back into the public hearts, I think. So, yeah, absolutely. They do a good job.
Ed, any comment to make about the royals?
I think Baby George is fantastic. Yeah.
Good work. Let's go over this side. I think there is someone with a mic over this side, hopefully, unless I made... Oh, good, yes. So, Lady, they're in the kind of effectively the front row.
If you could go back in the past and select one person from Downton that you could be, who would you choose?
It's difficult. Well, I love Mr. Molesley, but I guess I wouldn't really want to be Mr. Molesley because everything always goes wrong for Molesley. But I do have a soft spot for Mr. Molesley, but maybe I'd like him as a friend or a next-door neighbour rather than being him myself.
I like Mr. Molesley, yeah. You want him to do well. Yeah. Thank you. And just behind, lady just behind, if you pass the mic, thank you.
Hello, this is for Joanne. Show my age here, but I remember you from Coronation Street. So obviously a lot of people do kind of think that being in a soap is kind of, not as prestigious as being in sort of what you're doing now in Downton. But how do you think being in a soap has helped in terms of doing something like Downton, in terms of the turnaround and in terms of the sort of acting chops that you get? Because obviously Nigel Harman was there last week as well in Downton.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know, for me, certainly, you know, because I was in Coronation Street when I was 16, and I'm a little bit older than that now. Yeah, I left kind of 16 years ago. I left Corrie, so it's half my life ago, and you know, I was a kid really when I did it. But for me, it was invaluable because that was my drama school. I didn't train at drama school. I went to stage school at a younger age, but and I really learned my work ethic there. I learned about the technicalities of filming there. There is no time to rehearse. You know, you have to do your homework. And I was lucky that I worked with really good actors that taught me that and encouraged me to go down that path. And so it's something it was a very happy time in my life, and I learned so much from it. I left when I was 18 years old, and you know, without that job, I wouldn't have got my agent now, and I wouldn't have got, you know, the career that I've had for the past 16 years. So it was a fantastic first job for me. So it's, you know, but yes, I did feel like I had to work hard when I left to prove myself in different areas and prove that I was more than just a soap actress, which is disappointing because I think there is some fantastic acting in soap. So.
Thank you. Do you still watch Corrie?
Yeah, I do from time to time. I have a couple of friends still there. So
of course. Yeah. Thank you. Another.
Hi, this is a question for both of you. I know, Joanne, you mentioned that you did research for your storyline, but I wanted to know what kind of character work you two do and how you get into character for the show.
Okay.
I mean, depends really. Depends on where I'm having to go with the character. But for the beginning of the show, to take on the new series, because I knew I was going to be playing a Yorkshireman, I spent a bit of time in Yorkshire for a start. I went up to Ripon and Skipton, which is sort of near where the house is set.
I just have to interrupt you for a sec because as a native Yorkshire girl, Ed has a brilliant Yorkshire accent. I have to say, it's very natural and it's spot on. So it worked.
Thank you, Jo. So yeah, I went up to Yorkshire. My granddad was a Yorkshireman as well, so I felt it was quite a privilege to be playing a Yorkshireman. So I wanted to get it spot on. I mean, obviously Ripon and Skipton has changed somewhat from 1920s, but it was a great way for me to soak up the atmosphere and soak up what it was like and get a sense of the countryside and how it looked. So that was one way of doing it. And then from then, obviously, as the characters started to come towards actually shooting time came closer, I spent a lot of time with Alistair Bruce and talking about the idea that if a young man such as Jimmy was to be alive in the era he would have been in the First World War. So a lot of my character development was thinking about the things I might well have seen in the war. And that sort of put a bit of pressure in my head, thinking, well, for example, when Carson is sometimes sort of berating me or a bit hard on me, in the back of my mind, well, I don't really want to be listening to you because you've no idea what I've witnessed. And so I'm trying to think of things like that in order to bring as much truth to the character as possible. Trying to set yourself in situations that would have happened at the time. So looking at things that would have been happening around then in order to, like I say, bring a bit more realism to the character.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and for me, very similar but different. When I first got the role of Anna and we were about to start filming the first series, the same as Ed. And I think any actor, you do what you need to do to get yourself within that mindset of that time and that character and that person and the experiences they would have had. So I, although I knew obviously a little bit about the history and the history of women in those times, I watched a few documentaries on the time. I read a book called Keeping Their Place, which was it was extracts of letters and diary entries from real life people, servants to their employers and vice versa. So that was really good to give me a personal aspect on things. And for me, being a female, it was really important to remember as a woman where we were in those times as well, and the rights that we take for granted today that we didn't have, because at the time we started Series 1 of Downton, women didn't have the vote, and even though that's just 100 years ago, or thereabouts, I found that quite surprising every day. The more I found out, I thought, goodness me, I keep forgetting that, how far we've come in 100 years. And believe it or not, I actually had a couple of accent lessons to do a Yorkshire accent, even though that is my real accent, because they wanted it to be very period. So
really?
when they said, we're going to send you for an accent lesson. I thought, I think I'll get this one. I think I'll be okay with this. But actually, that was very helpful.
How different was the accent then, though? Was it more kind of...
It was more kind of, dotting the I's, crossing the T's. You pronounce your T's, you pronounce your H's, which are often
a bit more
dropped.
refined, I suppose.
Yeah, more precise. The speech was a lot slower, to go with the pace of life. Maybe not for the servants, I guess. But so that was interesting to research as well.
Right. At the front, yes.
So we have a question from a follower of the Downton Abbey Twitter page.
Excellent.
Which is, what were your first impressions of each other?
Oh.
Very good.
I don't know. Ed, you go first.
What would your first impressions be if you were sitting next to Jo? I mean, fantastic, amazing.
The same. I can't even remember the first time. Was it in the servants' hall?
Thanks, Jo.
No, I think probably first impressions.
It was the first servants.
Yeah, it was the same. I don't know what your first impressions of the servants' hall were, but in the servants' hall we can get quite raucous sometimes. So if anybody new comes in, it's quite exciting. We're like eagles round it.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, hello. So hopefully we were very welcoming, and we're always excited.
I was excited to go dancing with you this year.
Yeah, we had a little dance this year. That was fun.
Yeah, I enjoyed that.
I enjoyed that too. That was good.
We enjoyed that. Yeah, that was very good. Time for a couple of more questions. Let me think. I'm just trying to make sure that it's not too different for the mic, but there's a lady there, and I will try and go one from behind the barrier. So, yes.
Hi, this is a question for both of you. What's it like working with Maggie Smith?
I love it. Yeah, I mean, I'm
you
quite.
Probably get more to
yeah,
do
I mean,
than me,
I don't have. Actually, I've had dialogue with her before. I think. Have I? No, I don't know. Anyway, I'm quite privileged because I get the crossover. So I'm spending a lot of time downstairs, but I spend a lot of time upstairs. And actually, the beauty of me being upstairs is, although I don't really have a lot to say, I get to watch people act. It's amazing. So I get to stand in the background and watch. So Maggie Smith's having a close-up, and I'm just watching. I hope she never catches me because I look like I'm perving on her, and I'm not. I just think I just think she's amazing to watch, and she's so on it. She's so on every time that camera's on her. She gives the minutest details, and that's what brings that character to life that you will see and adore. Is the tiny things that she does. And it's all very subtle, but her timing is impeccable. And I've got so much admiration for her, for a lady of of a great age who has been able to achieve so much and still deliver day in, day out, and work 6 months of a year with us. In those costumes, in that hair and everything. I think it's a real testament to anyone who can do that. I'd be a very, very happy man if I could go on as long as she could, doing it the way she has.
Yeah, very, very similarly to Ed. I mean, I don't get many scenes with Maggie at all. In fact, I think Maggie's spoken to me once in the whole 4 series, and I didn't reply. So unfortunately, I don't get to spend a lot of time with Maggie. But as Ed says, when we do the scenes where we're all together, I love those days because I get to do the same thing. I get to watch Maggie and Penelope, and on days where we had Shirley MacLaine in, I was lucky enough to see Shirley and Maggie do a scene together the first series she was there, and that was a really special moment, and I love watching Maggie and Penelope scenes together because, as Ed said again, it's, both their performances are always so detailed, and it is like watching a masterclass, which is, I feel very privileged to be able to do that, so.
Thank you. And let's go to that lady just behind the barrier, been very patiently waiting.
Sorry, I'm a little short, so that was a bit of a reach. This is a kind of a question for both of you, and it goes with the last one. Who on set are you most just in awe of being able to work with, and who's the most fun to work with?
You can answer that one.
Well, I'm the most fun. No. No. The most fun to work with. We've got a few fun ones, actually, haven't we? Yeah, there's quite a few. I'd say, Brendan Coyle is certainly one. Siobhan Finneran, who unfortunately, and Rob James Collier. Yeah,
you were a lot of fun.
Am I?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Thanks, Ed.
Yeah,
I'm Ed, of course.
No, you had to say that because I said that. But that's fine.
But no, we do have a lot of fun in the servants' hall, don't we?
Yes, there's a lot of banter.
But those three are really bounce off each other, and it was really fun when the three of those were together. In terms of who I'm in awe of most, I guess everybody in a way. I think you learn things from everybody, but Maggie, Penelope, Shirley MacLaine, of course, incredibly exciting to work with three amazing women. I love watching Jim. I love
I
watching
get a lot
Phyllis.
from Jim. Yeah.
You know, and I also really get a lot from some of the young characters that we get in that are, you know, maybe their first or second job, because they have such enthusiasm and such, you know, a need and a enthusiasm to get it right, and that's quite contagious as well. So, yeah, I enjoy watching everybody, really, I think.
You've got Paul Giamatti coming up as well, haven't you?
Yeah,
Yes.
I didn't get to work with
No.
Paul at all. I
Yeah,
didn't get
again,
to
it
see
was
him.
another
but
one of those days of
Yeah.
getting to
Sorry.
stand and watch and
Okay.
watch someone deliver great detail. I mean, James Fox as well. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
I didn't even meet them. Well, I had a
Amazing,
very brief
yeah.
meeting with Paul at a screening, but bar that, I wouldn't have even got to meet him. So I'm looking forward to seeing those scenes.
Well, I'm afraid that's all we've got time for. But thank you all so much. Thank you for some brilliant questions from you guys. And thanks to Ed Speleers and Joanne Froggatt for coming. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.